Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Goddamn Gamecube. Greg and Riley are your hosts today. And today, Riley, this is a big one. As a part of our mini-series on the Remedyverse, we are talking about Alan Wake 2, a 2023 survival horror game and direct follow-up to the original Alan Wake released in 2010. Now, Riley, this is the first time we've ever reviewed a perfect video game. Riley, Did you know this game was perfect? And did you also know that people are fucking delusional? Because
Masterpiece, 10 out of 10.
This is going to be one of those episodes where I think you and I are going to scream into the void as objectively as possible about how many problems we have with this game. But
Correct.
What's our typical disclaimer? Like, we have some compliments, we have some grievances. Before I keep going, what do you got for this intro here?
Listen, there's a lot to discuss, but as Ati the janitor says, we need to go one potato at a time.
Okay. So
you have some preamble here about the budget.
Yeah, so it had a budget of around 50 million euros. At that budget, Alan Wake 2 is one of the most expensive games ever made and received critical praise at the time of its release for its story, LOL, presentation, and gameplay, which we are about to completely drag.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, dude, so one potato at a time. Go ahead.
That's right. The question I want everyone to keep top of mind as we break it down is, what is all this adding up to? That is the question I want you to think about.
I mean, according to the press, it added up to a perfect video game, but as always, fuck me.
Masterpiece.
Dude. So general gameplay, performance, do it.
Down to brass tacks here.
Yep.
In general, I think it's fair to compare the moment-to-moment experience with the recent Resident Evil remakes, maybe a little bit of the Silent Hill 2 remake as well. That's what they're striving for anyway. Unlike the first game, this is, I would describe it as a survival horror experience. The first one is not. I actually had no idea, and I was pleasantly surprised by that fact.
Yeah, I also think like the way this game is presented is positive, even though, you know, we're going to do so much dragging of this game. But I think the general, what's the word for this, kind of redesign of what kind of game they wanted this to make, I do think is positive.
Yep. The formula is strong for sure. It's the right feel for a game like this. Similar to those games, your character moves really slowly, perhaps even slower. Which makes the game kind of a slog to me to get through at times. I felt that the dodge mechanic was kind of clunky, and I didn't really feel like the shooting felt right either. Like, just a little bit junkier than the Resident Evil games. Like, I understand that the budget was clearly spent elsewhere, but it's a little hard for me to swallow that this is one of the most expensive games ever made and that the gameplay itself feels behind some of its peers. You know what I mean?
Sure. Like, I don't think it plays bad necessarily. Like, I do think it plays like it's just the Resident Evil 2 remake, but just a little bit clunkier, which is kind of what you said.
Yeah.
Although it comes across as a bit derpy, and I'll also say like constantly looking at the ground to like open toolboxes and lunchboxes for randomized ammo made it more annoying and made it feel clunky because I'm just always looking down. I don't know if you felt that way.
Yeah, It's one of many things that just kind of makes it feel a little disjointed to me.
Sure.
I like the idea of Alan Wake being stuck in this like Silent Hill kind of area during his chapters. It's a cool concept, but I ultimately thought that it was kind of a pain to traverse and navigate these areas. And I wish it made sense or felt like more lived in the way Resident Evil and Silent Hill locations do. Like Silent Hill, it's just we described it on the episode like it's a town that just, it feels like everyone just vanished abruptly. It's all very like authentic and lived in. There's no like funny little notes or scenes or just, you know, like all the weird shit you're finding in Silent Hill or Resident Evil that just kind of give the environment a little more character. I don't know if this was maybe intentional or the point, but to me, it just doesn't really transcend its role as a game space. And because the gameplay itself doesn't rip, the moment to moment there, I think, is very drab, at least compared to Saga Anderson's chapters.
Yeah, correct. So I did feel similarly about the Alan sections. The way I kind of surmised it was there are no set pieces, there are no bosses, there are no high intensity moments. It feels really weird and like underwhelming. Also, the zero enemy variety made it even more drab. I constantly could not tell like which shadowed enemies like had weapons and which would just disappear when I aimed at them. It just felt like this weird combination of just kind of boring and kind of dreamlike and kind of confusing because there are just no major pieces to hold on to.
Yeah, I would maybe describe the music video part as a set piece.
Okay, sure. Yep.
Otherwise, yeah, I agree. I wish there was a mini map or like a nav marker option. Like you're wandering around the woods or the city in the dark. It's really disorienting, and I'm always opening up the map to check where I am. And to make matters worse, when you back out of the map, it puts you in the mind place or the writer's room, which makes it 2 button presses instead of 1, which I thought was really awkward and annoying.
Yeah, and like I also like no, like you're not crazy. I also like constantly just like felt confused, even though the maps are not very big. I just found myself constantly opening and not understanding where anything was.
Yeah,
or I don't know. I don't know. For some reason, it just didn't flow very well.
Yeah, I agree. They also did not carry over fast reloading from the first game, which is a shame. Like you tap the reload button rapidly and you reload your guns faster. It doesn't function in the same way in this game.
Yep, it's more standard. Now that you kind of brought up the topic of gunplay, do you want to let's maybe go into it a little? There are some ups and downs. Like enemies having weak spots is kind of weird, but it gives the game strategy, you know, the shoot the big giant thing on the thing.
Yeah.
I do like the dodge mechanic. Like I like how healing has to be done in real time. And applying bigger heals takes time. Before I move on to any other points, any feedback on those?
No, I agree with you there.
So like the game essentially, like we said, plays like the Resident Evil 2 remake with some twists. I never died. I never got a game over, so I never saw the allegedly cool game over screens. Like, I don't know if you have a point on this. Everyone was hyping them up.
I died a couple times, but we'll get into it. It was during annoying parts.
Okay.
I don't think that also the end of part with the credits disrupting the experience helped this game either. Like, you know, it's broken up into episodes or chapters, and it's very frequent.
Yeah, this game, I think a big problem with this game, beyond all the stuff we're going to make fun of, it feels very stop-starty, like very truncated. You're constantly being pulled out of the action by either a loading screen or you're shifting to another location or it's stopping you from playing. It just happens all the time. Yes,
very constantly. And I will level a massive complaint at the PC version, which I played. I described when this happened and I found out there's no way to turn it off. I was like, this is unforgivable. The Epic Games Store, because that's what platform it's on, the Epic launcher, the achievement pop-ups, they just come up and it's this really annoying happy chime. So you could have like killed a really scary boss or had a really intense moment, and it's like ding. And I swear to God, like it feels like you're watching a scary movie for free on streaming, and then it hits you with like the Liberty Mutual ad. You know, like you're completely taken out of the experience by seeing like you killed whoever. You know, it's so fucking annoying.
Very.
It's unacceptable. Mechanics and systems, yeah.
Yep. Let's go on to some mechanics. Go ahead.
So number one, thank God they dedicated a separate button for focusing your flashlight beam this time. It was like so annoying in the first game. I'm kind of neutral on having your battery wear down in bursts rather than steadily decreasing. In theory, it makes you a little more supply conscious, but I felt like I was consistently wasting them by misunderstanding which enemies needed to be shined. I think it could have been made clearer which ones were vulnerable, like they're a little more visible, I guess. It's tough to tell in the dark.
I think in the Allen sections, you're right. I think I brought that up earlier. I just wasn't sure, like, who am I shining a light on? Who am I blasting? I don't really understand. It took too long to recognize them.
Yeah. The moments where you have to shine the flashlight on little orbs to make progress felt so like dated and pointless.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you remember those parts? It's like, what are we doing here? It was kind of a holdover from the first game, but it just, with everything else being so modern, it was like, what the fuck is the point of this?
Yeah, it was very like late aughts gameplay design.
Yeah, it's like it's supposed to be an obstacle. It's just like whatever. Let's talk about the mind place. So in theory, I like that the gameplay does not pause when you're in there, but this was literally never an issue for me. I kept expecting to be interrupted, like The Last of Us 2, when someone attacks you at the workbench. It just never happened. It never really became an issue.
Yeah, correct. So I've actually seen this before in another shitty game, Fable 3. Where like the pause screen is like an area you walk around in.
Okay.
So I have seen this before, and we're gonna talk about this, but I don't inherently dislike the mind place, but it just comes with its own issues if you want to keep going.
Yeah, aesthetically, it kind of reminds me of the pause screen in Deadly Premonition, which is interesting. You get like the fireplace and stuff. It was also cool when you discover it in real life, like the hunter's dream, basically. Like, you go back to the hotel and you can just walk into that room. It's like, oh, that's cool. I also like the idea of the case board, but the game is having you place these little Polaroids of evidence on ideas on this cork board, from left to right, which makes it a huge pain to navigate or make any sense out of it.
Yeah, like I'll say, like much like a lot of this game, it's aesthetically a cool idea, but it's ultimately pointless. Saga really just solves the case for you and makes conclusions for you. Yeah. I don't know if you did this. I sometimes just kept placing photos and hitting the button until I was right. Like, I just kept pressing X or A or whatever. I wasn't even really trying. I was just trying to get her to do it. I don't know if you encountered this.
Sometimes it really was like, if I made a couple of wrong guesses and I just went like brute force, like, all right, where the fuck does this go?
Yeah, exactly. And she aligns it for you. It doesn't fucking matter.
Exactly. And in that vein, I did not feel like the thought process of putting these photos in sequence was helping me solve the case. Like, I did not feel like my mind was aligned with Saga's while working the cases. A lot of the conclusions you wind up reaching felt like self-evident to me, or like useless in the broader context of the mystery. Like the supernatural stuff in particular, it was just like, she's like, oh, it must have been, the hole in the tree that turns you into a demon. Like her conclusions were just like not where my mind was going at all.
No, exactly. Like I also had that sort of in my preparation for this. Like, I feel like Saga constantly comes to conclusions or asks questions that I would never have guessed this.
Yeah.
Or like she brings up something out of left field. What about this like unrealistic supernatural solution? That must be what's happening. Okay. Like, I don't know.
If you say so, Saga.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll say there's a cool payoff to it at the end of the game, which we'll discuss. But overall, I did not find it very successful. Additionally, the profiling feature is literally just like selecting a cutscene from a menu, essentially. And it's like, once you've watched them all, you can make progress. That's all it is.
So it's I call it faux gameplay or faux gameplay. Yeah. It's not real gameplay. Saga does it for you and you just watch it. So it's also, like I said before, aesthetically cool, but actually pointless.
In practice, it's worthless. I honestly thought Alan's storyboard was even worse. It feels like they completely abandoned it after the first third of the game. And the moments where you have to switch out reality felt really stiff to me. Like between him and her, with the mop bucket or whatever. Like, think about how organically Zelda, Mario, God of War, etc. have accomplished the same thing, while making each version of reality feel like visually distinct enough so you always know which one you're in.
Yeah. So I think perhaps
more so actually I'll say specifically with Alan. When you're changing reality, when you're selecting, which to make progress, which version of like, oh, I have to clear out the tunnel. Like they looked pretty similar in some places to me, and it was just like, what did I do? What did I change? You know?
Right. No, I agree with you there. I think it's an interesting idea to have the puzzle solving based on let's write a new scenario.
Right.
But
right.
I think it gives you a puzzle solving wrinkle, because I also think about if this was not in Alan's adventure, there would be nothing in it because it's so drab.
It's just like, it doesn't feel very creative to me.
No.
You know, like in practice, like you're just selecting it from a menu.
Well, also he solves it for you anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. I also have a few issues with the words of power mechanic.
Yep.
One is that a lot of them sounded really stupid. Like there's word of gun and word of stuff. And I thought a lot of the bonuses they offered were pretty useless. And I thought obtaining them was oddly finicky when you have to like shine your flashlight in a specific way. And others online seem to agree that it's just it's weird to pick them up.
So I actually like the system at its bare bones. It's a cool way, in my opinion, to have like upgrades to your character without RPG mechanics. Yes, the words are stupid, but it is a Remedy game, so a lot of the words are going to be stupid in these games. I think inherently it's a cool idea as an upgrade system. It just comes across as a little bit finicky, but I think it's okay.
Yeah, it fits in universe. It's just like, ugh. So the orb or echo system and like the Dumbledore cigarette lighter mechanic, you know, Alan picks up that lamp. It reminds me of how you progress in Hellblade, and I don't like it either. Like it, you know what I mean? Like you're basically just interacting with a pedestal, and then it just opens up like a path or whatever. It's like there's just no thinking required. It doesn't really just feel like you're interacting, or like say you solve a puzzle in Resident Evil by finding, I need to find an item that makes sense here. You know. Like how making logical progress even in Silent Hill is a lot of it is like symbolic progress.
You're just touching one light to touch another.
Exactly.
I don't know.
I know that like Alan is living in a dream world, and they probably wanted to contrast it with Saga's experience, but I just feel like it could have used more. Here's a tangible obstacle. I need to find something in the world that will help me around or through it, like a key or a code or anything, you know?
And I think that happens occasionally, but it's like through the story, you don't actually do anything.
No.
But like, you know, I just think like kind of piling on here, I just think what kind of happens is the sections have such little impact because there are either no set pieces or arguably one. And so nothing happens. You just kind of wade through shadowy buildings and use the Dumbledore cigarette and nothing happens. And there's just two enemy types. Right? Like,
no, you're right. I think the Dumbledore thing is just gonna get funnier every time we bring it up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good comparison.
It's basically what it is. So my question to you is, if Alan Wake is able to rewrite reality to remove obstacles, why are there any locked doors? Like, is this guy stupid? Like, what's going on?
Riley, you had a quote off mic where you said, Greg, on goddamn GameCube, we always find the seam. We always find where the rip is. And I think you found one of the seams here.
It's a pretty big glaring one. It's a pretty bad stitch job, I would say.
I mean, that's going to come up later too, where it's like, if he can write anything, then why is anything happening? But we'll get there.
Like, I think a better vessel for this story would have been something like a Halo 3 Forge thing, where you're just building like your own reality and like having all these, even like, I don't know, there's Little Big Planet or whatever the fuck. Like Alan is sculpting his environment, his story. They don't give you enough tools to really make you feel like a creative writer. You know what I mean? Like, it's just
I also think because it's ultimately a linear solution, it's not very interesting.
Exactly. I think one of the game's biggest deficiencies is a dearth of important NPCs to interact with, at least meaningfully. You know, maybe some of them are vendors, maybe some of them reward you for doing side quests. Typically, this helps both flesh out the game world and engages you mechanically at the same time. Like, rather than the case board, you could have had a quest log that helps you keep track of how the characters connect to each other, like in the town, kind of like the Bomber's Notebook and Majora's Mask. There's like a little deer mask near the ones that you find out are cult members, just like something, anything.
I think this game, it feels less lived in than you'd hope it would. I think that's how it came across to me. Like, I felt like in Bright Falls, I just thought you'd be able to talk to more people and learn more stuff, but it's very flat and like very bland. So I will say too, they kind of tease you that there were interesting NPCs like Warland Dorr and Thomas Zane or whatever, but it ultimately doesn't add up to very much.
No, I wouldn't say they take full advantage of either of those characters.
No, but the one note I had in here was, hi, Tim, because you always run into this guy, Tim, and that's all you fucking run into as Alan. It's just, hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
I don't know.
He's just hanging out there. No, and it's really, I would say, like, even for a point of comparison, look at Deadly Premonition. Like, similar setting, and all the townspeople are so memorable. Like, they're all, like, very contrasting. You do side quests for them, and they have, like, a fucking 10th of the budget. Not even.
Do you just think, like, the world building in Alan Wake 2 is just wrong? Like... Like, they just don't let you talk to anybody. You don't get to learn anything. You're just kind of getting ass pulled for 20 hours.
I'm trying to figure out, like, what we're missing here, because everyone loves it. And it's just, like... So, it's clearly, like, the focus went elsewhere. So, people probably don't like it or weren't playing it for that reason. So, let's press on ahead. Let's get into sound design, voice acting, and music.
Yep.
Starting positive, I think the sound design is amazing. I love hearing the sound of the characters' clothes as they walk, or like, you hear the jacket like
yep.
It's incredible. Or like when you eject a mag from your gun and it bounces across the forest floor, you hear it like thump on the leaves. It sounds amazing. I think that Saga Anderson's performance is very charming. Like, she is very clearly not an American actor. I think that's funny, and it's endearing to me a little bit, but the dialogue in general this is a problem with all their games. It's still too chipper. One of her first sort of internal monologues after you find out there's this violent cult, there's just, desiccated corpse. She has this internal thought. This was my first cult case. Strange, but exciting. Like, dude, come on. Like, let's create, like, at least attempt to create a bit of a spooky atmosphere here,
Yep.
I wanted to mention that I like Alex Casey's voice actor the most. James McCaffrey, who also voiced Max Payne. Unfortunately, he recently passed away, as did Brett Madden, the original portrayer of Alice Wake. So a nice little hat tip to those fallen heroes there.
I think piling on to what you're saying, I just feel like the most glaring issue with Alan Wake 2 is the bad script, number one. Number two is the bad script spoken in weird or bad context. And number three, the characters' emotions and actions feel misplaced to what's going on screen, and it happens all the fucking time.
Yeah. No, I agree. It does happen a lot. I think this has actually been an issue with all of the games, but there are also a lot of instances where monologue or dialogue is just, it's mistimed. It's not timed out correctly. Example, towards the end of the game, Alan is mid-thought when he arrives at the car that will take you to the next level or next chapter or whatever. You either have to wait around listening to him rant about whatever the fuck he's talking about, or you cut it off, you miss out on the dialogue just to keep the game moving. Like, that shouldn't be... you shouldn't be having to pace yourself in that way. And I think maybe another... I don't know, like another way to look at it is maybe there's just too much dialogue. Like, everyone is just constantly yapping in these games, and it just leaves no room to feel, No, I get it. I maybe I'll make this accusation. Maybe our audience or you can agree or disagree. I think the voiceover director, whoever it was, bungled this. Yeah. I just think characters constantly talk over each other, either by mistake or certain elements trigger on top of each other. I remember when I was playing a Saga and I had to go back to the car, I was having a conversation with Casey or whatever, but then another conversation was happening at the same time and they just collided on top of each other. Like, how does that happen?
I don't know.
I don't know. Is it like, the direction, or is it programming? Like
I
either
don't know.
way,
Implementation, maybe.
it's not a good experience.
No. This game's
unless
perfect though, so keep going.
It is. It's absolutely flawless. So getting into visual fidelity and art direction here, dovetailing from my previous thought, I do think the wood sections are awesome. The mist and the lighting make the atmosphere really eerie, and I think it always puts you on edge. I just feel like it's too often disrupted by the character's internal monologue or other aspects of the game.
Yeah, I do agree. I think Saga's woodsy sections are the highlight of the game. It's very like Deliverance meets, I don't know, Twin Peaks or sci-fi, but keep going.
Yeah, no, it's really scratching that itch for me. I've brought it up on some of the Resident Evil and Silent Hill games. I have a certain affinity for that atmosphere. And I loved like the art direction for Alan's world as well. I mentioned in the chat, it kind of looks like the first promotional image of the fourth Matrix. I know, Matrix was such a huge influence on Max Payne. I think maybe a little bit more was at work here. Alan's new style looks a lot like modern Keanu Reeves as well, with like the shoulder length hair.
Yep. It actually didn't really hit me how Matrixy this game was until you and I were doing pre-production for this, so it's a good point.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll add on too, like, I'm going to complain about this game a lot, like, as we go, but for a huge $75 or $100 million budget, it does sound really good and it does look really good.
Yeah.
So we will hat tip them there.
Yeah, I agree. And so another weird complaint I have is that I understand that one of the main elements of these games is darkness. They keep bringing it up. But the indoor lighting during the day felt so dark. It just looked not correct. Like it was just not lit correctly. Like, why do I have to take out my flashlight to see like when you go into the bar during daytime, like you can't see a thing. It doesn't make any sense. It felt like when you go inside after being out in the bright sun all day and it looks dark, but like as if your eyes never adjust to it as they do in real life. It's bizarre.
Yeah, like I think you're talking about the inn or the bar or whatever in
like
Bright Falls.
Ati is on stage doing his thing.
It's really the bar is one and then the inn is another. It's really weird. Like I'm inside, it's daytime. Why do I have my flashlight out? It feels bizarre. I also agree with this.
Yeah. I didn't think the shadow enemies were very intimidating. And like I said earlier, I think it could have been made clearer which ones were vulnerable. Like they're a little bit more visible than the ones that are completely transparent. It's really tough to tell. I think the Taken you encounter in the real world fare a little better because they're like flesh and blood. Like they're still somewhat human, kind of zombie-like a little bit.
Yeah, I do think the Alan Wake sections they feel a little bit too dreamlike and a little bit too, I don't know what the right word is. Like I just feels like I can't reach out and touch it. Feels a little weird.
Yeah.
I think all the good tension is in the Saga parts. I will say this though, I get a little taken out of the experience when like the cultists or the guys in the Saga section fly around or like do unnatural movements like that. It kind of takes me out of it, but whatever.
Yeah, that's a little, I don't know. But you remember BioShock when they have the Houdini splicers?
Yeah.
That's what I kept thinking of.
Yep.
I do think this game is pretty notable for its jump scares. I do think they're effective, and I think it's kind of funny when you break down how they do it. Towards the end of the game, I did start to call the timing pretty well. Like, it's probably going to be one coming up. Like, with respect to their role in the story, I think it was a cool way to portray that Saga has some kind of intuition or connection with the other side. She just gets these like terrifying flashes of a person's echo. It's really interesting because it's really just like a photo negative of a scary face, and it's just up in your face, and it's like so simple and effective.
That was probably one of the most effective jump scares.
Yeah, very frequently, and you get that like like every time it happens. It's really abrupt. And I think something else I wanted to point out, I think the frequent use of full motion video actually supports the theme of not knowing what's real, which is brought up several times. A lot of FMV.
Yeah, we should talk about this. Like, like the real actor FMVs and cinematics. Like, I don't think I've seen that shit since like the original Resident Evil 1, where like the cutscenes are like real actors in real video. And like, it's hard to describe unless you see it.
I said very few and far between in games.
No, yeah, I don't see it very often, or it could have been even 20 or 30 years ago. I think it is. Yeah.
I was thinking about the menu for Brutal Legend. Remember that game?
Okay.
It's like just video camera footage of like the inside of a Blockbuster or something. Kind of interesting.
That's right. I think it's like, it's too bad that the story mostly sucks, which we're about to get into, because I think visually, I'm sorry, man. Like, like, I just think visually the game does take massive risks, but it's just so fucking stupid. But like, we'll get there.
Yeah. My last point here on visuals is that there's some loading screens where they're showing you like this wormhole transition between dimensions. That shit looks awesome. I think that was a highlight for sure. But now that we've gotten that out of the way, shall we get into the story?
We unfortunately have to, and like, dude, I'm gonna conduct myself as professionally as possible, but like, this is some shit, man. So keep going.
Right. So we gotta try and figure out what everyone else sees in this game. I will say, I think it's neat that older Remedy works were clearly inspired by The Matrix and Twin Peaks, and this one feels like it's drawing from the most recent installments of those series, like Matrix 4 and Twin Peaks Season 3. Pretty, like, oddly similar in places.
Yeah, I do think like this game essentially is kind of like Murder, She Wrote meets Twin Peaks meets The Matrix. Like, when you think about it more, it kind of wears those influences on its sleeve.
Yeah.
Although I'll say this too, I feel like I'm insulting those works by saying Alan Wake stands next to them, because this game sucks.
No, that's the problem, is that, okay, so example, in the fourth Matrix movie, Neo winds up escaping like this purgatorial reality by authoring an artificial reality himself, and then he writes a character into it based on a real person, which is exactly what happens in this game with Alan Wake and Alex Casey. And I think Anderson, a common enough name, I feel like they were maybe referencing Neo's given name, Thomas Anderson. And the plot of Twin Peaks Season 3 has to do with an evil version of the protagonist running amok while the good one is stuck in limbo. So pretty similar to some of the stuff that happens in this game. And like, there's other similarities, but those feel like the most pertinent ones to me.
So they're very much wearing it on the sleeve. It looks like they're heavily borrowing, but I can't speak on the new Twin Peaks because I'm actually watching the series for the first time.
Oh, so. Congrats. It's quite a wild ride. That being said, like, it's kind of adding to your point there. I feel like they are generally expressing the same ideas in a less effective and ultimately less cohesive manner. Like, in terms of making the emotional point. I'm not opposed to using some of the same color paint to do something new, as long as the finished product develops a strong enough identity of its own. I just didn't feel like the emotional stakes were there to make it happen with this.
Yeah, so it's quite a mess. And as we discuss the whole story, I get like very irritated with how frankly, like, they get close to nailing it several times and they always fucking fumble in this game.
Yeah.
I want to say this too before everyone in the audience wants to like rip my hair out or whatever, like, or just like throw tomatoes at me. Like, this game is not bereft of cool stuff. Like, there's cool stuff in here, but as they get so close to pulling it off, and then they fuck it up so many fucking times. And with that being said, you want to get us into let's keep going here, dude. I can't wait.
Okay, so I'll start us off. With the first story point in 2023, 13 years after the events of Alan Wake, a naked man emerges from the dark shores of Cauldron Lake. It was the setting of the first game, experiencing visions of this man violently screaming before he is found and has his heart cut out by a group of men wearing deer masks. So I was so on board with this. I thought this intro was really engrossing just because of you're just like literally this naked guy running through the woods. You're so vulnerable. And these creepy cult guys, and it's pitch dark. It's crazy.
I will say this, like, yeah, it's an incredible intro. It grabs you right from the start. It's probably one of the best I've seen. You know, I occasionally talk about really good title card moments, or like what games have the best intros before you see, you know, Alan Wake appear on the screen. This one's one of them. Like when you just come out of the lake. I thought what was going to happen was this naked guy comes out of the lake and it's a cinematic, but then you have to play as him, which is really funny and really awesome.
Yeah, no, I didn't expect to do it at all. I'll get us moving here. FBI Special Agent Saga Anderson and her partner Alex Casey are dispatched to the town of Bright Falls, Washington, old familiar places, to investigate a series of ritualistic murders. So they investigate this latest victim, the naked man, who is revealed as former FBI agent Robert Nightingale from the first game. It is believed he was murdered by a group calling themselves the Cult of the Tree. So I want to call out right off the bat, I was looking up stuff about this this game, and I was looking up Saga Anderson. Remedy is based in Finland, just so everybody knows. Saga Anderson, spelled a little differently, is apparently a 24-year-old track and field athlete and active social media influencer from Finland.
Really?
So a little bit of namesake there.
Dude, I actually thought they were trying to be cute, like having her name be like writing and book related, like Saga is a, kind of story or whatever. Like her name's dumb, right? Like is it? Like, I don't know, man. Like to me, I felt like they were trying to do like, it's a game about books. Her name is Saga. Saga's a story. Like I thought they were hamming it up to be stupid, but I just thought it was dumb.
It's one of those things where I'm really on the fence about it. Like, I think it's kind of interesting. Like, that sounds a little bit like a Homeric name, like something of myth, Saga. Yeah. But you are right that it's a lot of, and this happens in Kojima's games too, where I'm wondering if he just doesn't realize how literal it's going to be in English. It maybe something is getting lost in translation there, but I'm more or less with you. I just think that, okay, Alan Wake 1, I think about it and it's like the it's quaint little weird like flashlight game, you flash away the shadow monsters. All the what I'll call the Pajama Sam stuff, because that's the first Pajama Sam game. He's trying to find his flashlight to ward off darkness, and that is exactly what's going on in this game too. So you have this dark place, the dark presence. Bright Falls is, it's the opposite. I think it just sticks out even worse now. Like, it's just so fucking childish that the series has taken this gritty and serious turn. Like, you have a naked, mutilated corpse with his dick out in the same game as, we need the clicker my mommy gave me when I was a kid to ward off the shadow people. Like, are you kidding me? Like, dude, what's going on here?
I'm glad you said it. It's like, I did have in my preparation here that the serious tone of the game is immediately ruined by too much silly stuff.
Yep.
Like, as you put very, I'll say crassly, the first scene is you just
you don't see that in a video game that much. No. It was pretty remarkable.
This dude, you're just running around with your dick out, but then there's just too much unintentional humor and awkwardness. Like, it's got to be a combination of the script, the direction, the implementation. I don't want to hate on the non-English actors, but it might be a part of it too.
They were just reading the lines that were written for them,
Thank you, Sam Lake.
So, moving on. In addition to Nightingale's corpse, Saga finds a mysterious manuscript page that seems to predict the future. While in the town, they encounter Sheriff Tim Breaker. Hi, Tim. Who promises promises to assist their investigation, as well as the waitress Rose Marigold, who recognizes Saga and acts like Saga was a local of the area, despite this being her first visit to the town. She also claims that Saga's daughter Logan drowned several years ago, despite currently being alive in Virginia with her father. At the morgue, Saga then performs an autopsy on Nightingale's corpse, but it suddenly reanimates in search of the clicker. It keeps saying, "Where's the clicker?" and escapes the morgue after Breaker mysteriously vanishes.
All right, Riley, can I interject right here?
Go right ahead.
Dude, this is actually the moment where like my grade immediately lowered, and I thought this moment immediately sucked. Yeah. It's when, I was so locked in with the naked guy scene in the intro, and then this fucking really threw me off. So what really throws me off, like with this scene, it's really weird to me how calm and naturally Saga and Alex Casey react to like supernatural things happening.
Yeah.
Like the corpse got off the table and flew out of the room, and that's fine. Like, let's just go chase him as if that's normal. Like, it just bothers me. It just doesn't seem like the characters have like a human reaction. Like, before I keep going, what do you think about this?
No, and I think that's something that is commonplace in their other games too, is that people aren't reacting as you would. I don't know. Like, yes, maybe you could make the argument that it's a little tiring to have like are you seeing this? Like that kind of scene every time something supernatural happens. But they should have some kind of reaction, because they're not like, as far as I know, they are not like X-Files kind of agents. They're just normal FBI agents doing their job. And like, they're not part of the FBC, the Federal Bureau of Control.
Jesus.
They're just very like, I agree with you. It was, maybe I was a little bit more expecting something like this to happen, but yeah, they seem pretty cool with it.
There's also another thing here, like when a generic police officer NPC comes into the room when that section ends, he just says, "Oh, what happened here?" Like as like like his fellow officers like disfigured and disemboweled corpses are just bloodied on the floor, and he comes in and says, like, what's going on here? Like it was so weird. And then Saga replies to him with, "We've got officers down." Like, no fucking shit, we have officers down. And like, did anyone notice the giant ghost man that flew up the stairs into your fucking office?
It's like,
dude, it's really weird, man. I don't know. Dude, I immediately was out.
Someone turned on a Bloody Mess from Fallout. They're just like, it's like viscera
I don't know, man.
everywhere. What's going on here? I couldn't tell if the guy was running up the stairs and he teleported, or like did he run past them and they're like, oh, that's weird.
It connects to their fucking office.
Okay, moving on. As they pursue Nightingale to Cauldron Lake, Saga uses her psychic powers to investigate the scene. Alex Casey reveals he had investigated a murder cult in New York City dedicated to bringing back the missing author Alan Wake by reenacting the murders described in his books, and that Nightingale came to Bright Falls to pursue Alan 13 years prior. So Saga encounters Nightingale. Now he is converted into what the manuscript calls a taken, and is forced to kill him again. Saga then finds a very shaken Alan Wake washed up on the shore of the lake, and takes him into custody while also discovering evidence that an organization called the Federal Bureau of Control, big thumbs down on the video portion, it has a presence in Bright Falls. Saga and Casey take Alan back to the Elderwood Palace Lodge in their field office, where he describes how he escaped from a dreamlike dimension called the Dark Place. So Alan's chapters, you play as Alan Wake, recount his continued efforts to escape the Dark Place. After appearing on a mysterious talk show called In Between with Mr. Door, Alan finds an angel lamp once belonging to Thomas Zane, the author from the first game. I believe is a film director, actually, and connected to the clicker that, in combination with his writing ability, allows him to manipulate. This is bullshit. Allows him to manipulate the dark place, like anime stuff. Dark place to better navigate it. Alan begins navigating a dark, twisted version of New York City, following the trail of Alex Casey's investigation into the cult of the Word, led by Alan's evil doppelganger, Mr. Scratch, who seemingly survived when you kill him in American Nightmare. This has brought him through the various scenes of the murders committed by the cult. I want to say that, okay, the talk show shit is cool. It's a nice, it's an interesting set and situation. The subway chapter I thought was so boring, and confusing, but, It is supposed to be New York City. Some listeners may know I have some recent firsthand experience with the New York City subway system. It is pretty true to life. They did their homework. They probably did some location shooting. I like the cute Easter eggs they put into the signage. Like you look up and it says connects to the ALICE trains. Spells out Alice Wake. Pretty cool.
Now, did you ever switch back and forth between characters? I just went as far as Alan as I could until it forced me back. I feel like they could have done more with this. Like, why let you switch back and forth if it rarely happens and it's not necessary?
Yeah.
Like, I thought they might do a bit of like the Ocarina of Time thing where you need to help each other out in each other's world, but you don't. Or maybe have some optional moments. Like, why do they let you switch back if they just force you anyway? I don't understand.
It's very a la carte. I did all the Alan chapters I could just because I realized very quickly how boring it was going to be to play as him. I was like, let's just eat my vegetables here. Let's get the homework done. I totally agree that it would have made way more sense. Like I was saying with the binary states, going back in time to the well in Ocarina of Time, and when you have to become a kid again to get to the Spirit Temple. That kind of thing, just like having some connectivity between them would have been interesting. I think the concert chapter was a fun idea, the music video. And they clearly put a lot of effort into the performance and the choreography and making it all line up. But I thought that like the moment-to-moment gameplay was really unpleasant. I kept getting taken out by enemies I hadn't even seen yet, and the randomized item boxes made health pickups very rare. It was, I'll say something that the first game got right is that they have this big, huge concert experience, and they just load you up with ammo, and like they make the moment rip. And this that you need to have the momentum going, and I kept getting interrupted. It was so annoying.
So I think the Bizarro music video stuff was very on brand for Remedy. Clearly they put a lot of effort in here, but it just came across to me as a very strange contrast to the Naked Guy section. I can't comment on the Game Over stuff because I didn't get one. But it just, we were saying earlier how like the games has such a serious tone and I'm so locked in, and then they just do this weird shit that takes me out. Like, yes, the music video part is quirky, and yeah, they're trying to, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if they should be in the same game. I don't know. Maybe that's where I stand on this.
It's really like, it's for some reason to me, it's so much sweatier than like how, like say David Lynch plays with tone, or even Deadly Premonition. Like, so why does Deadly Premonition have stuff like that too, but it somehow works? It's just like, I think Deadly Premonition is more committed. And this is just kind of like, just having a good time.
Well,
Wouldn't
I also think Deadly Premonition,
I
think Deadly Premonition gets more serious the later it gets. Where this game strikes the serious tone right off the bat and then just kind of fumbles. But anyway.
Yeah, it goes back and forth. All right. Plowing ahead here. Along the way, Alan also encounters Tim Breaker. Hi, Tim. Who is searching for the talk show host, Warland Dorr, believing him to be responsible for trapping him in the dark place. Alan also occasionally made brief contact with Saga, the two of them trading vital information when they can. After believing he has killed Tom Zane, who has gone insane from his captivity inside the dark place, Alan is contacted by an alternative version of himself, explaining that his repeated attempts to escape the dark place are causing him to experience time loops. Let me get through this. Alan explains that he wrote a new novel called Return that helps him escape the dark place. However, Mr. Scratch, his evil doppelganger, re-edited the manuscript into a horror story. Hate when that happens. Taking effect in reality. Alan warns that Mr. Scratch is searching for the clicker, which is the key he needs to free the malevolent dark presence completely, but also is the key to permanently defeating it. When one of the manuscript pages mentioning the cult of the tree possesses the clicker, Saga decides to follow its trail in the town of Watery and realizes that Return Twin Peaks: The Return has rewritten her past so that her daughter Logan drowned in an accident, as the waitress was saying earlier. Angered that Alan wrote her and Logan into his story, Saga recovers the clicker, but before she can get it to Alan, agents from the Federal Bureau of Control, led by Agent Kieran Estevez, arrive and apprehend him, as well as the cult leaders, who are revealed to be the town entrepreneurs Ilmo and Jaakko Koskela. These guys, they're like, you see them on TV in the game, like they're doing the funny commercials.
Yep.
And I just, they were like gag characters. I don't think they were like any of the characters were the side, townspeople were vibrant or well realized enough for it to feel impactful when it's revealed that they're part of the cult.
So I'm going to reveal another seam here, and you just tell me if you think I'm right. Like, I found all of this dark place invading real life or a story rewriting real life to be very confusing. So in some book version, Logan is dead, but like, how large of a landmass does that cover? Like, is it just Bright Falls? Is it Washington? Is it the USA? Like, if I were to go to Massachusetts, does the story have no effect anymore? Like, I don't understand the rules. Like, what is binding people to believe Scratch's version? I don't understand. Like, I just don't understand, like, how that story is affecting people's brains and how far-reaching that is. And I don't think they care to explain it either. I have more, but do you have anything about this?
No, I mean, that's a good point. I kind of assumed it was just everywhere. Like, everywhere was starting to belong to that reality where her daughter was dead. But it's a good point. Like, we don't see what's going on in the Quantum Break City or anywhere else.
And like, you don't see what's going on. Allegedly, she's calling home and her kid is fine. So like, but you don't see it. So I don't understand. And like, as for the cult stuff, like, they're interesting enemies, and some of the main characters being cultists makes sense, sure, but you don't get enough character development for me to give a fuck. Like, it's the funny guys from the commercial. Like, I think, I don't know. Like, I just think more of an everyone is in on it kind of horror may have been more effective. Yeah. Kind of like everyone's playing you, or like playing you into coming to investigate this, right? Yeah. But also, like, I'll say this too. Like, if Scratch can just rewrite the manuscript, why doesn't he just kill Saga or have the game be unwinnable? Like, the rules don't make any sense, and I think the story sucks because of this. Like, why doesn't Scratch just make something unwinnable? Why? I don't get it.
That's why I love the first Matrix so much, is that there's rules, and there's rules that you got to follow, and like, if somebody knows the rules better than somebody else, they win. That's what I like in fantasy or sci-fi or media, whatever. You play through this chapter as Alan with none of your gear. I just thought this was so stoppy starty. Like, can you just let me play the game? Like, I had accrued like so much stuff as him, and then you just start with nothing. And then to add insult to injury, you get the fucking Control people. Like, just let me forget about Control.
Dude, here's the thing though, man, but like, we think Control fucking sucks, but people love it, dude.
People love it.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well,
here's the thing though. I'm gonna put a little bug in the ear of the audience. I did not mind this quote unquote twist, but then I hated it later. So okay. Riley, why don't you keep going?
Yes. So with no other options, Saga goes to the Valhalla nursing home and tracks down Odin and Tor Anderson from the first game. So they apparently know more about the clicker. As she communicates with them and rescues Tor from Cynthia Weaver, who has become a Taken. It's also from the first game. She learns that Odin and Tor are actually her granduncle and grandfather, respectively. And she has inherited their seer abilities, allowing her to discern the changes to reality that the Return book is causing.
So a positive note here, I actually thought this was a really good level, really good jump scares. The Cynthia jump scare when you're just walking around during the day really fucking got me too. Do you remember this?
That
you
was
go
cool.
up to her and you kind of walk up to her in a non-combat section, and then she just kind of disappeared. I mean, it was good. They did a good job.
That was interesting. But they stole the Granny in the Water idea from Little Nightmares, the DLC.
Yep, same thing.
It's the same staging. You got to stay out of that water. Granny's gonna get you.
Yep.
So next up, Odin and Tor also explain that the clicker does not do anything by itself, but instead it dramatically enhances the creative power of the person using it, which is why it is important to Alan and Scratch. Like, it doesn't really, what a motivator. It doesn't really do anything by itself. It's like if the ring in Lord of the Rings was just like, it's just kind of a nice piece of jewelry.
Dude, what a crock of shit, man.
It enhances your creative power. It's basically gummies. So Saga then heads back to Bright Falls to get the clicker to Alan, but finds out that the Alan who escaped Cauldron Lake was actually Mr. Scratch.
Oh no.
So with his identity now exposed, Mr. Scratch kills Yako, one of the cult leaders, and escapes from captivity, attempting to take the clicker from Saga. He is temporarily thwarted and banished by the FBC. So I want to say that the Mr. Scratch twist could have been killer, but the execution is really limp. I think all the big story beats in these games are told rather than shown. Like, us talking about it is probably going to make it sound more interesting than it actually is, right?
Yep.
So after this moment, Ilmo reveals that he and Yako formed the cult in order to scare townsfolk away from the dangers of the lake. Okay. While they perform their ritual killings on whatever Taken emerges from it, like Nightingale. So they're actually the good guys. So realizing that Alan is still trapped in the dark place, Saga enlists the help of Casey, Odin, Tor, and Estevez to carry out a ritual to summon him to the real world. I'm not saying you can never do this, but it feels like the story deflates when you have stuff like the big bad scary cult were actually good guys all along. Like when the Taken attack the nursing home, Rose says, "Oh, we're actually quite prepared. We're used to this sort of thing." Like, great, I won't worry then. Like, everything is actually fine. You know?
So I have a couple of thoughts on this. I'm saving my thoughts for the whole, it was actually Scratch the whole time for a little bit later, because it really fucking chided my ass and pissed me off, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. But I just think, like, that statement in the nursing home, Rose saying we're actually quite prepared, it completely derails the agency. So, like, the townspeople are aware there are monsters or not. They can see them. Like, throughout the rest of the game, they can't. So, like, what? I don't understand. Like, I don't know what the rules are.
Some angry fan will correct us, I'm sure, in the comments.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, Alan continues to try to find a way out of the dark place, eventually making his way to the old apartment. There, I thought it was cool to see the apartment from the first game. There, he discovers his wife, Alice, has been tormented with visions of Mr. Scratch, eventually leading to her apparent suicide. In anger, Alan kills who he believes is Mr. Scratch, but is actually a version of himself, attempting to fix Scratch's ending of return, which perpetuates the time loop. I need to say something here. I think Alan being responsible for Alice's death felt like we have Silent Hill 2 at home.
Yeah.
But like where that game is entirely built around that twist, like this feels like just a cheap ass pull. You know what I mean? Like, wow, dun dun dun.
Oh no, dude, but don't worry, dude. It's going to get worse.
Yeah. Okay. So back in the real world, the summoning ritual fails to summon Alan into the current time and is instead responsible for his initial appearance earlier in the story. Both Saga and Alan come to the realization that Alan and Scratch were always the same person, with Scratch being Alan, who is possessed by the dark presence at the end of every loop, and thus is indirectly responsible for Alice's death. So Mr. Scratch arrives at the summoning site, and Saga is able to banish him from Alan's body, only for Scratch to possess Alex Casey instead, steal the clicker, and throw Saga into the dark place.
Okay.
So,
dude, like, do you want me to go here? Like, you can talk a little bit. Do you want me to start? Like, I have some thoughts on this.
Let it rip.
So, like, I feel like they almost nailed this, but they got so close and then they fucking bungled it. Like, I think Scratch emerging from the lake and us thinking it's Alan is awesome because we've been thinking that for several hours.
Yeah.
But then Saga says, no, Alan Wake and Scratch are the same person. To me, that's like, dude, commit to the twist. Just commit to it. Like, they tried to have it both ways. Now, like, instead of Alan, like, is actually Scratch, they're the same person and they embody the same body. Like, I don't know why you would muddy that twist. You should just commit to it. And you know this about me. I can't commit to the timeline stuff, the loop stuff, the dimensional stuff. Like, I can't do it, man. Like, they gotta commit to the twist and just let the plot play out. Like, I can't get behind this. There are no rules. How come it couldn't have just been Scratch coming out of the lake and then you fucked up? How come it couldn't just be like you having to correct the fuck up? I don't understand. But
no,
go ahead.
Because it's not like, I mean, we discussed, Limbo, or Majora's Mask, very clear, very simple time loop, right? It's so complicated, and for what reason? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't.
Yep.
You need like a fucking flowchart to figure out the cause and effect in these games. You know what I mean? Like, it's just nonsense.
Yeah, dude, it doesn't make any sense. But keep going.
I'll say that the surreal Deerfest sequence is a great idea. An endless parade, like in a dream, kind of reminds me of the movie Paprika, where that happens. It's like a very kind of extreme situation, and I feel like they do almost nothing with it. Like, the whole idea is that Mr. Scratch exemplifies Alan's dark traits, like his vanity. So everyone is obsessed with Alan and his new book in the town. But when you pick up a copy, everyone goes berserk. You run away for like 2 minutes and then it ends. Like, what? That's it? That's all you got? I don't know, man.
I don't know, man.
With Scratch in possession of the clicker, Alan concludes that the only way to stop him now is to write a completely new ending for Return. He returns to his writing room and tries to work out how to write a perfect ending that saves everybody while staying consistent with the horror genre. Honestly, dude, these games have thrown every storytelling rule out the window. It's a little late to start caring about genre purity now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, conventional logic says Control should have been a suspenseful horror tale, not a guns blazing looter shooter, but here we are.
Yeah. Like, dude, but like, again, though, like, there aren't enough rules. Like, there are not enough rules. Why is Alan trying now to write the perfect ending and evade Scratch? Like, by this game's logic, Scratch rewrites the ending anyway every time.
Yeah.
I don't understand this. Like, if the game is just loops and then that means everything is pointless. Like, I
don't
can't
like that theory in
emotionally.
Silent Hill 2, where it's like, oh, it's just over and over again. And then, like, why do I care?
No, dude. Like, I can't emotionally believe in this story. They do this thing where they make their own plot points irrelevant because because they use dimensional dumb shit. We're like, oh, in this timeline we can do this, but if we rewrite it, we can do it. I can't do it, man. There are not enough rules. They didn't commit to Alan actually being Scratch, and Scratch rewrites all of Alan's books anyway. So who fucking cares, dude? Like, what? I don't get it. I don't know. Keep going. I don't know.
It's not going to hold up in court. Any way you slice it.
No.
So meanwhile, trapped in her mind place, Saga fights off the dark presence's attempt to overwhelm her with her own negative emotions and self-doubt. Now in the dark place proper, she reunites with Tim Breaker. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Who remains there in search for Mr. Door, who is heavily implied to be Saga's missing father. I was just like, whatever, who cares? Like, I don't, it's like such a footnote. It's bizarre. I do like that, I'll say here, Saga's version of the dark place is just her intuitive method going haywire, and getting clouded with doubt. I think that's interesting, like, where it's just like, like every Polaroid that you put up on the board is like antagonizing you. I think that was a cool part. And like the way out of it is like you use the flashlight to reveal evidence that she's not a terrible person. Like it was a nice little I don't know. Just like I said, it was going to pay off later. This was a nice little payoff to that mechanic. I think it was maybe one of my favorite moments in the game because it's flipping the script on like a game mechanic to illustrate that the player character has an altered mental state. It was interesting.
No, for sure. I think like putting a little bow on it before you continue, the game's biggest problem is how they handle Alan Wake and resolving his story or lack of resolution. I think the way they handle Saga is mostly thoughtful.
Yeah. So then she receives aid from an anonymous woman who directs her to the clicker and a bullet of light. Remember this? Saga takes the two items and escapes back to the real world by mimicking Mr. Door's actions on a manuscript page given to her by Breaker. Hi, Tim. With the clicker, Alan is able to banish Mr. Scratch from Casey's body. Scratch returns to possessing Alan, and Saga shoots him with the bullet of light, seemingly killing him and Mr. Scratch. As Casey recovers from his possession, Saga tries to call Logan to confirm her safety, but the scene cuts short before any answer can be heard. So you got an Inception ending, you know? It's one of those just like, oh, did she pick up? We'll never know. However,
I don't care.
However, in a post-credits scene, a recording left behind by Alice Wake reveals that she had managed to fully regain her memories of what happened to Alan after consulting with the FBC at the oldest house. Big thumbs down coming from Greg. She had tricked Alan into thinking she committed suicide by choosing to return the dark place as part of a plan to help him eventually escape. Explaining that, dude, fucking Metal Gear is less complicated than this. Explaining that the only way he can escape the loops is through ascension, air quotes, ascension. Alan then revives from his gunshot wound and says, it's not a loop, it's a spiral.
Fuck you.
So if I could put a pin on my issues with this story, it's that when both Alice and Alan died, I was like, who cares? They'll probably walk it back. And sure enough, in both cases, they did.
No rules, baby. Like
oh my God, dude. So in the final draft ending, which is the New Game Plus, if you've completed a second time, Alan realizes that the bullet of light was meant to cleanse a part of himself, the dark presence used to create Mr. Scratch. So this finally kills his doppelganger for good, while finishing the spiral and freeing Alan from the loop. Saga's call connects, confirming her daughter Logan's survival, and Alan revives soon after to the surprise of her and Alex Casey, declaring himself the master of not just two worlds, but many.
Okay. Dude, I'm going to go off for a second and then you can bring me back.
Away. Yeah.
I cannot believe they hide the ultimate resolution in a New Game Plus ending. Like forcing you to run the entire game twice. You cannot do that. Like they are just ass pulling you into playing the game twice and it's exactly the fucking same. Like, I would even be okay with them forcing you to replay an altered endgame as a part of the main game. Games have done that before. Mm-hmm. But, like, the whole fucking thing is hidden behind New Game Plus. That is an ultimate sin, dude. Like, it's, by the way, like, it's not a loop, it's a spiral. It's just it's not a lake, it's an ocean from the first one. Like, fuck you, dude. Like,
it's so funny because it's like, what is this, Hades? Like, it's not that kind of game. Like, just
I know, like, you cannot just force people to do the same thing twice to get. You cannot do that. Come on.
No. I also I have an off the cuff thought here. Mr. Scratch is so much less interesting in this than he was in the first one. Like in American Nightmare, he's kind of fun. He's you know, I'm not going to say he's very well written, but he's like kind of actively antagonizing you. He's barely like developed at all in this game, you know, as a villain. I would like to present my refined concept for this game to our audience and see just kind of like what this is my OJ, how I would have done it. Okay. For first half, right? You're playing as Saga Anderson, and you investigate the death of Nightingale and how it's connected to the disappearance of Alan Wake. There is an array of townspeople you get to know and interview, and you try to figure out what happened. You might be surprised which ones turn out to be cult members. Everything seems pretty straightforward at first. you gradually start noticing things that don't seem right or don't make sense. Maybe this even starts bleeding into gameplay mechanics. Saga keeps receiving messages from Alan. He's asking her for help and to get him out. And the player and Saga both gradually lose their sense of agency as the story forces her to believe that it's real. And this creates like an overlap between her world and fiction that will allow Alan to escape, right? But once you get him out, he does something nasty. He kills a character you actually care about and reveals to himself to be Mr. Scratch, like he was playing you the whole time, right?
Yep.
And he is responsible for starting the cult through messages, and he has been manipulating them and Saga into letting him out. And then the second half is you're playing as the real Alan Wake, trapped in limbo. The overworld is still Shadow NYC, but over the course, it starts to look more and more like the real world. As his writing is getting better and better and more detailed. Rather than asking questions like Saga, Alan's chapter is spent answering them. When you meet up with NPCs like Alan's editor or his publisher or his agent or Mr. Door, it's kind of like a Telltale game. Like you choose your own adventure, like how the story will develop. Like what's going to happen next, Alan? Like that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And at the end, your critical reception or how well the story holds up to scrutiny is what governs your ending. So does Alan get out? Is Alice still alive when he gets out, etc.? And that, if you want, you can either keep it going or it leaves the door wide open for Alan Wake 3, where Alan and Saga need to collaborate to stop Mr. Scratch. And that is my editor's draft of Alan Wake 2.
Dude, listen, I love your draft. We'll try to get it to Alan Wake, but Scratch is just going to rewrite it anyway. But if I were to even simplify your idea further, part 1, Saga, part 2, Alan, part 3, you stop Scratch, done. Like, no more Alan Wake 3, no more of this shit, like, no more Bureau of Control, no more ass pulling, no more dimensions, no more loops. Part 1 is questions, part 2 is answers, part 3 is final confrontation, thank you. Like, I can't do this anymore.
That's basically how you, and I mean, this may turn out to be reality, but that's how you stop Remedy from making any more games. It's just like,
it's true.
That's it. We're done. We're done with this writer.
Remedy's just a loop.
Yeah, exactly. Real quick side content here. I felt like I kept trying to figure out the side puzzles just to engage my brain a little bit. I just didn't feel like the rewards were all that worthwhile. I don't know how you felt.
No, most of the charms are useless and just clog your inventory. So keep going.
Yeah, or it's giving you supplies, or you do get the crossbow at one point. That was cool when you're Saga. I need to know, what was the point of Tim Breaker? Hi, Tim. Besides leaving you stashes of goodies throughout the city, like kept providing a lore reason for that. Like, did they really need him for something like that?
I don't know. Like, all I got from it was hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim.
Because that's all you would say.
It's worth noting that this is the same actor who portrayed Jack Joyce in Quantum Break.
Everyone's favorite Jack Joyce.
I think his name is almost certainly a reference, like Tim Breaker, Time Breaker. Dude, what I wouldn't give for a little cameo from my friend Paul Serene. Somehow Paul has returned.
Dude, a love supreme.
A love supreme. Okay, let's get into final thoughts here. Conclusion. I think I've said this before, but the key issues I have are that these games they don't rip. You can't just like play them. Like, they keep interrupting you constantly. They seldom, if ever, attempt any sort of internal logic or cause and effect, cause and consequence. And I think while as you say, they wear their influences on their sleeves, they don't do anything new with them like Deadly Premonition did. I think they're less than the sum of their parts. There are often comments in the characters' monologues and dialogues about how cliche something feels. I don't think that gives you a pass to keep it in the game. Like, if you as a storyteller feel like something is cliche, like, why not just keep kicking the ideas around for a little bit until you have something that feels fresh and surprising, you know? If you want to experience a good version of this, like Writing Affects Reality, just play the Myst series. I need to ask, where is Barry from the first game? Like, was he too silly for this super dark and gritty serious game? Like, is that the problem here? Evidently, Remedy has recently partnered up with Tencent to continue this universe, starting with Control 2. So, good luck.
Yeah. I think that's well said. I think that's well said by you. I'm just going to pile on here because this is our final thoughts moment. Like, the gritty tone of Naked Guy is immediately washed when the bungled morgue scene happens. The Alan and Scratch are the same guy plot bungles this further. The loops, the ass pulls, the walkbacks of every plot point just barrage my brain and just rip away like my emotional attachment. They walk back everything, so who fucking cares? Like, let there be a solid consequential moment in the story at all. Let Alice die. Let Logan die. Let Alan die. Like, anyone. Like, I don't actually care. Yeah. Like, there's zero solid plot points because they walk everything back with the loop theory, dude. Yeah. I can't do it. Like, nothing matters because I guess Scratch rewrites it, so who cares? I can't do it. I can't do this anymore. I feel like I'm breaking up with Sam Lake.
Can't do this anymore.
And I've got more too. So like enemies, I don't know if you knew this, enemy spawns are actually randomized, which completely wrecks the game's balance too. Like, we've barely talked about how this game plays. Mm-hmm. If you don't like that there are enemies outside of your save room, you can just turn the game off and then they go away, which is fucking crazy. And by the way, charms cannot be thrown away, so my entire inventory and item box were 100% full and I couldn't throw shit away. And it was a fucking nightmare, not an American nightmare, it was a Greg nightmare.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to keep going because why not? I can't fucking do this shit anymore.
Let it rip, yeah.
Yeah. Like, and also the randomized loot and adaptive difficulty making me open every fucking lunchbox and every fucking toolbox that sucked. I'm just constantly looking at the fucking floor. And like the constant stop and starty feel of the game also sucks. Like, just let me play this dog shit. Like, there's so many interruptions, dude. And like, dude, I can't do this. Like, lastly, like, with all this being said, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, we've dragged this game through the fucking mud, but I actually think it's their best game, which I think is hilarious. Like, it's Remedy's best game, but that does not mean I like it. The game is not devoid of cool stuff. It's more of a mess than any reviewer cared to mention, which is driving me crazy. Like, yeah, the nursing home was scary. Yeah, the 4-ish bosses are decent. The combat is serviceable and the forests are scary, but the game is a fucking mess. You said it earlier where this game is less than the sum of its parts. Like, it feels worse.
Yeah.
Where we typically give games the benefit of the doubt and say they are better than the sum of their parts. But this game, for some reason, feels worse. So that was my speech. Before we do grades, do you have anything else to say?
No, I would just say I wish I saw what everybody else sees in these games. Like, maybe some of it is just kind of like they don't feel like anything else, I suppose. Like, it's like, you know, Sam Lake is definitely, like I said in a previous episode, it doesn't feel cynical. It just feels like they fucked it up. You know, like, it doesn't feel like a corporate blob. It's just like you screwed up the formula here. So something went wrong along the way. And
it's just what frustrates me is like he's a nice guy. There is cool stuff in this game, but I do not like it.
We keep saying that. Nice guy, great guy.
He's a nice guy. Like,
I think it's I don't know, man, because I agree with you that this is their best game, at least that I've played. It just still did not quite cut the mustard for me.
No, all right, dude. We're doing grades and we're being done with this. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go?
I'm going C.
You're going C, straight up C?
Straight up C.
I think...
Because I gave Last of Us 2 a C+, and I don't think it's on that level. Personally.
I think I will go with you on a C. I think on my Instagram, way back when I beat it, I gave it a C+, but I'll go C. I just think I think this may be one of the first games where we encountered a game that was lesser than the sum of its parts. Or like the sum of its parts was worse, which I think is strange.
If
I
we're
don't
missing
know.
something obvious, hopefully the audience will let us know. But we broke it all down to the atom, and I just don't see, I don't see the appeal.
No, I don't either. So anyway, that's all we've got for this one. Alan Wake 2 is a C. Everyone out there, you're fucking delusional. And you can feel free to type whatever you want in the comments. We do not give a fuck. This game is a mess. Thanks so much for listening. I'm breaking up with Sam Lake, and this has been another episode of Goddamn GameCube. Thank you.